Nurse Alice Benjamin is joining us. She's also known as America's favorite nurse.
We have to be careful because this will open the floodgates and open Pandora's box.
Not only is the beet good at helping to bring your blood pressure down, this is nature's Viagra. What I really want viewers to know is don't throw your coffee cup away just yet. It's really important that we as healthcare professionals take the time to decontaminate these things. When it comes to pancreatic cancer, it's the fourth leading cause of cancer death. And stage 4 is basically the most advanced stage of cancer.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Nurse News Now, the show that shares important health and medical information, talks about trending topics important to nursing. I'm your host, Nurse Alice, and I am excited to be here. We do this every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just as much as I love sharing and talking about this information, I hope you're enjoying it just the same. So please let us know. Visit nurse.org. Let us know your feedback. What you want to hear, what you liked hearing, and all these great things. And also, if you're watching on Facebook, please make sure to share the show, start a watch party with your friends, your family, your colleagues, your classmates, your coworkers, and all those things. Anyone who is just thinking about being a nurse, doing prerequisites, maybe they just started nursing school, maybe you've been a nurse, you're a new grad nurse, or you've been a nurse for a while, or you are a nurse in retirement. We love you all the same. And so this is important information that's going to impact nursing, our role, what we do. And, it's important that we stay abreast of things that are going on in the world because we do more than things at the bedside. We do things beyond the bedside, okay? In our families, in our communities, in government. And again, we're going to get into that. Speaking of government, a lot of things. Nurses, we are leaders. And I think we need to strategically place some of our nurses in some of these places. But you guys, I just want to say, in the words, I don't know if you guys know the singer Neo. I like Neo. He has a song and he says, I'm a movement by myself, but I'm a force when we're together. And nurses, we are definitely a force to be reckoned with when we are together. There are over 4 million registered nurses in the United States, nearly 1 million licensed vocational nurses. We are all nurses. We are all sisters and brothers, and we are in this together. So let's make sure that we keep each other informed so we can answer all these questions and we can actually be the change that we want to see. So we have a great show lined up for you. Quite a few interesting topics, everything from does your state have a mask mandate to, getting more healthcare professionals vaccinated. At least that's the goal for some people. As well, there's a Moderna blip, lots of allergic reactions at a particular vaccine site. We'll talk about that, what's going on. And we'll talk about should schools require students to get the COVID vaccine to return to campus and to go to clinical. So all of those things we're going to talk about today. So if you're watching here on Facebook, please let me know who you are, where you're tuning in from. Are you a student? Are you LPN, RN? Which hospital are you from? Definitely want to shout you out. We'll definitely put your comments on the screen because we want to celebrate you. So thank you so much for tuning in. Good morning. Oh, it's good morning where you are. I wonder where you're at. I'm in Los Angeles, so it's 6 p.m. Pacific. And I don't, Shupikaya? If I said that wrong, my apologies. But thank you for tuning in. B, thanks so much for tuning in. Oh, you're too kind. Kevin, I literally tell everyone about nurse.org for information. Kevin, you are so on point. Nurse.org is a great resource, whether you're wanting to know information about nursing school, money to go to nursing school, things that are impacting nursing practice, healthcare practice, all kinds of stories, to the fun stuff. We got some fun stuff that happens on nurse.org. We share some great TikToks and great stories of our fellow colleagues. So we definitely love our fellow nurses, aspiring nurses, and other health professionals. We love our doctors. We love our medical assistants and everyone else. We are a team. Kelly, thank you so much for joining the show. Kelly says, I'm a clinical nurse leader working at the VA in Reno, Nevada. Just got my second dose of Moderna today, feeling great. Good for you. Thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing that. We don't hear enough of those things. And I think that's led to some people being hesitant or skeptical about the vaccine. And so, Kelly, please jump on in the conversation when we get to that Moderna stuff, because I really want to hear what you have to say as well. So guys, let's kick this show off, okay? And by the way, for those of you watching on Facebook, I got IG over here on the phone here. IG, I have not ignored you. I love you very much, but the show is on Facebook. I tried to tell y'all before we started, it's on Facebook, but I'm going to keep it here so you guys can hear, and I'll tune in every once in a while. But thanks. I see all of you joining. Dream Team Renee, thank you so much for joining. And for QCMS 1, I've had the first vaccine, getting the second one next week. Thanks so much for sharing. Love these comments. Okay, guys, I'm back. All right, so let's hit this topic of masks. Now, we all know when this very confusing messaging when COVID-19 came, right? We initially had the CDC saying, oh, the general public doesn't need to wear masks. I clutched my pearls. I don't have on pearls, but if I did, I'd clutch them because I knew right away that was not the messaging. That was not the messaging, but CDC told the general public they didn't need to wear masks. And then all of a sudden, oh, we want people to wear masks. How confusing is that? I can almost guarantee it was not a nurse that delivered that message, but no shade, no shade. But the point is now we know that masks play a very, very important role in slowing the spread of the vaccine. And notice I said slow and not stop, because while we as healthcare professionals have access to full quality PPE, at least I hope you guys do by now. I know we were having a shortage in some things, but unless you are someone who's wearing an N95, a PAPR, full face shield and all that kind of get up, the general public is asked to wear some type of mask or facial coverings. I know you guys have seen a variety of things. I know I have. And some of them I'm like, I don't know that qualifies as a mask, but as long as the nose and the mouth are covered, right? That's the important piece, because when they cough, sneeze, sing, laugh, droplets of potential coronavirus are popping out. So masks are important, but you have a group of people who say it's my right that I don't have to wear a mask. And there are some people who have medical conditions that make it difficult or challenging to wear a mask. And I know y'all are nurses, so you guys already know this, but I'm just gonna go ahead and repeat for the people in the back who may not know, right? They were asleep during that part of the class. For the most part, children under the age of 2 do not need to wear a mask because they're young. They may not know when or how to remove their masks. They may not have the dexterity to. And speaking of dexterity, if someone has issues with their hands or mobility, they may not know how to take on and off their mask and may need to do so if, let's say, they're choking or they can't breathe, they can't take it off. So that's someone who shouldn't wear a mask. Anyone who's comatose should not wear a mask. Now, nurses, interesting thing, because we have patients like that all the time, and we will put a mask on them and transport them throughout, to another area of the hospital where they need to be. But the key is you are watching them. You are watching them. You are not leaving this individual alone. And many of these instructions that are going out from the CDC are to the general public. So mind you, we know too much for our own good. So we will do it. But for the general public, we're telling them those type of things. Okay. But mask mandate. Should people be required to wear masks? Well, because we are in a world pandemic, because public health and safety are at risk, yes, you should wear a mask. President-elect Biden, who will be inaugurated, is that the word? Tomorrow, has requested that all U.S. people residing in the U.S. wear masks. Now, notice he did not mandate it because he can't. I know he's about to just be our president of the United States, the leader of the free world, but he can't mandate masks. He's asked us to wear masks. He's appealed to the governors and the local officials who can, in their areas of government, can mandate masks. So, does your state have a mandate? Do they not have a mandate? If they are requiring people to wear masks, perhaps it's at certain locations, certain demographics, but where would you go to know that information? Do y'all know? Do y'all know on IG? Do y'all know on Facebook? Where do I go? Where do I go? Because sometimes, although I like to think I'm smart, I'm not necessarily keeping everything up here, but I know, may not know it up here, but I know where to go to look it up. And that's the key to nursing and being smart, because your head's only so big, it can only keep so much knowledge. At least I like to think. But they say that I have a big head because I'm smart. So, but I still don't know where everything is. So I need to know where to look things up. So I'm going to show you where you can go to look things up. But real quickly before I do, I want to shout out everyone who's coming on the show. Thank you so much. Oshan, thank you for coming. Hey, Quintasha, I see you. Rashida, thank you so much for joining. Thank you, thank you. Kevin, San Antonio, it is a city ordinance that masks are required to enter businesses and such. Kevin is on his stuff. I love it. Okay, so for those of you who want to be like Kevin, right, and know this information, because your friends and families are going to ask you, maybe you are traveling. Listen, not that you should be traveling somewhere unessentially, but you need to know where to go. So I'm going to share. I love this. Facebook thing. Y'all got to come over to Facebook. This is some good stuff. I am going to share with you where you can go to find out if your state has a mask mandate. So I'm going to share this. Y'all see this? Y'all see my screen? State by state guide to face mask requirements. Let's see. All right. Boom. There we go. Let me make it a little smaller. There we go. So I have that up there. Some of you guys are probably wondering, like, Nurse Alice, why are we looking at something that's from AARP? Listen, let me school you a little bit. Let me school y'all a little bit. Nurses, we are good in our nursing organizations. AARP is a friend of nurses. If you do not know already, AARP actually, in collaboration with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, have created the Campaign for Action. And actually, let me just go back there for a second so I can show you this real quickly, because I think this is information that's important to know. Share screen. Let me go here. So for those of y'all on Facebook, y'all see this? I know y'all see it, right? I'm gonna make it big so you can see it big. And let's remove that banner so it's not in our way and you guys can see all this wonderful information. Campaign for Action is an organization that is funded. That means money, moolah. Funded by AARP and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. AARP, we all know that as an organization that supports those 50 and over. It's kind of like their thing, their club. They're not just a club. They're a nonprofit organization that does a lot of important things, especially for our elderly and aging communities. And if you think about it, that's where a majority of our healthcare dollars go, towards the elderly, towards those who are older. And so AARP definitely has a vested interest in healthcare. And who is the largest segment of the healthcare workforce? Nurses. So they are definitely vested in nurses. And so anyways, that's sidebar. Let me go back to the mask thing, but I wanted to give AARP a plug for all of their support and love that they have for nurses. So just FYI, if you didn't know, AARP is Team Nurses. So let's go back to that. So I'm going to share the screen. We have, where did it go now? Okay, masks. Okay, there we go. So you can go to this website here. I'll make it big for a second. State by state guide to face mask requirements. 38 states plus DC and Puerto Rico mandate face coverings in public. Now, as Kevin was saying, thank you, Kevin, for participating in the conversation. I invite all of you to submit your questions and comments as we go along. Each state's going to be a little bit different. They might have some things that say that you don't necessarily need to wear your mask except for when you're at a particular event or setting. That's going to be important to know. So let's say, for example, let's take a state here. I'm going to scroll here. Let's see, Mississippi. Can y'all see that on my screen? Okay, it's big. Let me make it like this. So Mississippi. Let's see what Mississippi does. I just scrolled and picked Mississippi. Mississippi does not have a statewide order, and their governors lifted their Mississippi mask requirement on September 30th, about 2 months after it was imposed on October 19th, and issued a new order mandating masks in indoor public settings in counties with high COVID-19 case rates. So the order currently covers 75 of Mississippi's 82 counties and is in effect until February 3rd. Face coverings are still required statewide at schools and close contact personal care services such as salons, barbershops, and massage parlors. And if you want to know more information about Mississippi's mask order and the COVID-19 guidance, there's a nice hyperlink. So you can go to that and you can find out more information about that. So how cool is that, right? So again, you don't need to know it all up here, but you need to know the source. So I want to encourage you all to, bookmark this page. So if anybody in another state, maybe got family somewhere, they're confused. The public's getting really confused because so many different pieces of information are coming out. The ARP is keeping this site current and up to date. So if you want to know, is there a mask mandate in your particular state? And then you can go to your state and you can look at the breakdown, which counties, which settings, which dates it was activated, was changed, and all of those things. So I believe that is a great resource to have. Now, let's talk about the enforcement of it, though. Enforcement. Who's enforcing these things? Because listen, I'm seeing lots of people who are probably violating the mask mandate, and it feels like nothing's happening, right? It feels like nothing's happening. And probably, sadly, it isn't, because we just simply don't have the resources for everything going on in the world today. I think about nearly all of law enforcement is at the Capitol right now, or in your state capital, trying to just, be prepared for what's going to happen tomorrow. But let's face it, police officers, sheriffs, any of those officials who would be responsible for otherwise giving us tickets or mandating, enforcing those type of things are overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed. And so they don't necessarily have the manpower to enforce these things. But that's not to say that you're not going to catch the right officer on the right day and they'll give you a ticket. They probably will. But just so you know, the mandate is being enforced. How it's being enforced depends on local jurisdictions. And some towns are just depending on people's goodwill to follow them. Like, we set this mandate out, please follow it. It's for the safety of yourself, your family, your friends, your fellow citizens. So we're just hoping people are following the rules, right? We're hoping. So that's what's happening now. So please bookmark that website. You can go, we'll put it in, I'll put a link. We'll put a link here in the chat box for it. Let me go ahead and do that now, so I don't forget, because I know conversations can get going. This can get really good and juicy, and I don't want anyone to not have this wonderful information. So I'm just going to go back, and I'm going to put this in the comments. There you go. Boop, you're welcome. Okay, so that's the whole thing about masks mandates. Okay, so let's see. Did y'all have anything to say about that? What do you guys think? Illinois says, let's see. What does Illinois say? Let's see. Ocean said, Illinois is required for any individual over 2. Okay, good. I'm glad that you know that. Hello to my folks in Houston. Thank you for joining us. Kayla, let's see. How do I become a medical nurse, like a medical spa that does Botox? Kayla, we'll get to those type of questions at the end of the show, but thank you so much for joining. We appreciate you. Nurse Quinn, hello. Thank you for joining us. Again, you guys, if you're on IG, hit us over on Facebook. We're getting to see a lot of cool stuff. And I'm not necessarily getting to see all of your comments on here on IG, Facebook. I'm just talking to IG. I'm trying to get them to come over to Facebook so we can have a big, big party over here. But they like to stay loyal to the IG. Okay. Anyways, enough of that. Let's go to the next topic. So our next topic, guys, the journey to getting more health professionals vaccinated. Which employers are incentivizing and which ones are threatening layoffs? Oh my gosh. Are we threatening layoffs? Are people threatening layoffs for people getting the vaccine? I hope nobody's working in a state like that. I hope not. Let's see. Oh, okay. Kevin's on. You know what, Kevin? I probably need to bring you on the show to talk about this. You're so informed about what's going on with masks and things like that. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm so glad nurses are advocates. We are advocates. I'm glad you're informed, because I'm pretty sure you're advocating in your churches, in your schools, in your communities. And that's what nurses do, because we are leaders. Thank you, Kevin. Okay, but back to the vaccinations mandating. Okay, so y'all, let me give you some tea. Let me give you this. Well, first off, let me start with this. So I understand when the vaccines rolled out, they prioritized frontline healthcare workers in long-term care facilities, and those living in healthcare facilities. Now, I know some of you are probably like, who said I wanted to go first? I know you did. You don't have to, you ain't got to lie, Craig. I know you did. But let's be honest, it was a strategic move with the thousands, now millions of people infected with COVID-19, the hundreds of thousands of deaths that we've had from COVID-19. The strategic thing to do would be to strengthen the front line. If our healthcare professionals get sick and ill and die from COVID-19, who is then going to take care of the rest of the nation? So if you didn't think about it, I like to think about the glass halfway full. It was out of love. They wanted us to go first so that we could be protected, because we have constant and frequent exposure to people who may and do have COVID-19. Absolutely. So I get it. Now, but many healthcare professionals, and actually some studies will say, actually, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, they did a poll, 29% of those who work at the front line said that they probably would not, or definitely would not take the vaccine, even if it were proven to be safe, even if it were free and proven to be safe by scientists. Now, we can get into a whole host of reasons as to why people don't want the vaccine. I don't think it's any differently from the general public, because although we are healthcare professionals, we're still human. We're still going to carry some of the same concerns that the general public has. And let's be honest, we're so busy you're either so busy in school, they're so busy working or just sleeping because you're trying to recover from work and school, that you haven't had time to read the studies. Let's be honest. There are a lot of physicians and nurse practitioners and PAs and surgeons who've also not read the studies. But yet, what do we say? We tell the public, talk to your healthcare provider. Well, hell, the healthcare provider don't know either. What are we going to do? So, and I'm making light of this, but it's not a funny situation, guys. Somebody got to read the science. Researchers, epidemiologists, pharmaceutical companies, they put all this together. Now, mind you, coronavirus family has been around for quite some time. So they didn't start at ground zero when they were creating this vaccine, right? And they're using mRNA technology, which actually is faster to create than vaccines versus the traditional attenuated virus vaccines that we're most commonly used to. And actually, these COVID vaccines are the first commercial use on a large scale of the mRNA vaccine. But it's a lot of information, too fast, too soon. And in a world pandemic, we just can't take too much. We can't take anymore. Like, we're up to here. So I think that's a lot of it. And because we are healthcare professionals, we know what really goes down at ground zero. We done seen some things. We've seen it. We know not everyone gets sick by the book. We know that not everybody gets treated and recovers like it says in the book. And because we've seen those things, we have some concerns. And then I'll also throw this in there. We have been at the front lines, many of us diligently wearing our PPE, hand washing, social distancing, staying out of those rooms as much as possible. I see those IV poles outside of the room, so we're not having to go in, right? We're limiting contact. And because of those things, we have been good, and we have not been infected with COVID-19. So it's like, I'm doing a good job on my own. I don't know that I need this vaccine. I know. I'm just saying what you're thinking. Okay, I'm just saying what you're thinking. And let me add another layer to this. Nurses, we are the largest segment of the healthcare workforce, at least 75% of the healthcare workforce. 85% of nurses are women. Now, not all of us may be in this boat, but a majority of nurses, female nurses, at some point in their life may be actively trying to have a baby, maybe in some stage of pregnancy right now, or maybe breastfeeding. And because we know that that population of women were not included in the studies that were released to us, we have some reservations, because I don't know. I don't know what's happening yet, and I don't want any harm to my baby. Listen, that is a natural thing to feel. Nobody is knocking you or shading you for that. I think the people who are making it seem like healthcare workers are not getting the vaccine, they're planting mistrust, because if the healthcare workers don't get it, then the public is suspicious. They are. But we're just like the public. We are still the public. You can't separate us. We are still consumers of healthcare. And let me tell you, I had to I had to say those things to set this conversation up, because when I see things like this, when I see headlines that say, where does it go? Where did it go? Because I need y'all to see this. Okay. Facebook, y'all with me? Y'all see the title? Y'all see this title? Let me make this great. Let me make it big for you. The title reads, "Health workers refusing vaccine is new growing U.S. problem." No, boo. We're not the problem. We are the solution. We are helping to take care of people at the front lines. Now, whoever told you that you just knew that I was going to take the vaccine because somebody told me to, without me having doing my own research and not being an informed consumer, well, you're the problem, because you should have known better than that. Somebody should have known better than that. And they didn't. Am I throwing a little shade? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Not shade. It's actually truth. It's facts, right? It's facts. Definitely it's facts. Let's see. What are you guys saying about what I'm saying? Okay. Let's see. Sheila comment. "It is just to imply that healthcare professionals abide by any precautions to keep themselves and their patients safe." We want to keep our patients safe. Absolutely. I'm going to gown up, glove, and do everything I need to do to keep my patients safe. But when you're asking me, and listen, I'm not saying don't get the vaccine, and I'm not going to shade you if you don't get the vaccine. I want everyone to be an informed consumer of your health and body. I'm not the boss of your body. You're the boss of your body. Okay. We got to do things, but if I have concerns, I may have health issues. I may have concerns about a reaction or how this is going to impact me, because let's be honest, and I think this is where the transparency needs to come in. It's not an attack on the vaccine, but they say, oh, the vaccine has been deemed safe. From what we know today, it's deemed safe, but we do not have long-term data that tells us anything to support that. It's not shade, it's facts. So I don't like it when people paint someone who says that out to be like a pessimist. I'm not being pessimistic, I'm being honest. And so what would happen, hypothetically? There are some long-term effects that we don't know about today. Not having that transparent conversation at the top of the conversation, oh, I'm really going to be mad at you. I'll be mad, like double mad. Okay. So I think if we were more honest about treatments and therapies in healthcare, maybe people would be more receptive. But I think it's the things that go unsaid are interpreted as, you didn't tell me because you were hiding something. So I don't want to be the person to hide something. Just like we tell someone the pros of a procedure or medication or treatment, we need to tell them the cons or the risks. Okay. And let them make the choice. Just like patients have rights. Even though I'm a nurse, I'm still a patient. I have a right. You guys have rights. Okay. So I'm just saying that. And again, this show is not to throw shade or discourage anyone. It's just to share the full gamut of information, not just the sound bites that certain outlets are sharing here and there. And as healthcare professionals, we need to know everything from the rooter to the tutor, from the top to the bottom, from the front to the back, so we can educate our patients properly. Okay. And just so you guys know, we have some great articles on nurse.org where you can learn more about the COVID vaccine. Nurses have shared their journeys, difference between Moderna, Pfizer, and all those great things. Please make sure to visit nurse.org. Kevin's in for the conversation. Yes. Healthcare professionals are supposed to do as much research as possible, not just for their patients, but for themselves in order to be well informed. And let the church say amen, because that's facts. It is. So this whole, we got to get out of the doctor said to do it. Like, have you had that patient where you're like, well, why are you taking this pill? Oh, well, the doctor said. Patient has not done any research. So our whole thing as nurses is we're to empower our patients to be informed consumers. Why can't I be an informed consumer and make a decision based on that information? Right? And maybe that no is not a no, I don't want it at all, but maybe it's a not now. And I think that's important for us to make sure that we reiterate to people. Doesn't mean a no, may just mean not now. Kelly jumping in the conversation. And thanks to y'all in IG hanging tough answering these questions. Thank you so much. RN Renee is talking about their side effects, their holistic options too. Yes, research is a must. Kelly's jumping in. She said, it's normal to have some fear of the unknown. I was hesitant initially until I saw the results of the trials. I then made an effort to educate myself as much as possible so fellow nurses could come to ask me more questions about it. Excellent, Kelly. And that's exactly what we want nurses to do, and educate and inform ourselves. Although we we work well with the healthcare team, we have our physicians, our colleagues, and things like that. Just think about this. The general public is being told, ask your healthcare provider. Is the healthcare provider reading the research? Have y'all read the research? Because I hope you would read the research and not just go by what someone just tells you, right? Like, because they could be misinformed. They could have misinterpreted the data. People can sway data to make it look like however they want it to look like. But as Kelly said, she went and read the data herself, educated herself, and made an informed decision. And that's what we want anyone and everyone to do. So thank you so much for sharing that. Rashida, I agree. There's a lot of mistrust. We just have to be honest and just share things. Ocean, my champagne, I'm home with COVID now, so I definitely understand. Oh, we hope you feel better. Okay. We're going to be praying for your recovery. Well wishes, well wishes, well wishes. Okay. So anyways, where was I going with that? So are people threatening? Oh, okay. Incentivizing and layoffs. Oh, it got good and I got off track. Okay. For those, so people have decided to get the vaccine or have deferred, or they're kind of waiting and sitting by. Now there are stories of employers who are incentivizing people to get the COVID vaccine. And then there are some who are threatening layoffs. So I'm curious to know, what have you guys been seeing in your respective cities, schools, employers, work, things like that? And while you guys are putting all that in the chat box, I want to share that I'm going to roll with Chicago. I'm trying to make sure I mention stuff from all over the U.S. In Chicago, there are multiple facilities who are offering cash money as an incentive to persuade staff members to take the vaccine. So they're hoping that this serves as a boost to the vaccine rate. So some facilities are offering anywhere from $150 per vaccine that you get. There are some I've seen, if you get both vaccines, they're going to give you $500 cash money. Employers are incentivizing. Is that okay? Is that cool? Should we be doing that? And if they're incentivizing healthcare workers, will they be incentivizing the public? Is that a best use of your resources? We're going to run out of money. So what do you guys think about that? So you guys keep putting your comments in the chat box. I'm going to tell you a little bit more. In fact, when I just talked about the public, some businesses in Chicago are getting very smart and savvy, because the Roscoe Village Bar in Chicago announced on social media that if you come to their bar and you present proof that you have taken the COVID-19 vaccine, you will get a $10 gift certificate off of any beverage or food in their restaurant. Okay, so I'm going to go get the COVID vaccine, and I'm going to be able to go, especially at a time where economics are rough for everyone, and then be able to eat. I could probably make a meal out of $10. Listen, I'm pretty good about that. Or enjoy adult beverage with my friends for $10. So that business is now able to drum up business, because you're probably going to eat more than that. Let's be honest. You're going to get more wings and, salads and burgers and whatever you get at the bar. You're probably going to eat more than the $10, but it's a good way to pull you in, but then also pull in someone who's hopefully safe. Because if you've gotten the COVID vaccine, ideally, you're probably also wearing masks, because you're someone who's concerned about your health. So should businesses be doing that? I mean, that's interesting. So let's look at some of these comments. What are you guys saying? Oshan said, yes, my job started as of now. Vaccine is not mandatory, but eventually will be, and rumors of termination if you don't get it. Some staff resigned and many are looking for other jobs. Ooh, yes, some nurses have left Dodge. Okay, so her employers, many places are making it optional right now because it's an emergency use authorization. Now, I'm going to spill over into the next topic a little bit, but can you mandate a vaccine? Does anybody know the answer to that? Start putting your answers in the chat box. I'm going to tell you if they can or cannot. Other comments. Quinn Tasha said, not a thing, just saying this is the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. Kelly has, I have not heard of any incentives or layoffs related to the vaccine. Victoria, yes, because it's not just about protecting you, it's about protecting everyone around you. So some people are like, they've heard of it. Some people haven't heard of it. But the whole goal is to make sure everyone is protected. I think decisions will be like the TB test versus chest x-ray. Both are scary tests, but we must. Okay. Let's see. Kelly said the bar is smart. The bar is smart. Maisha, I'm a nursing student in Texas, and they told us that it's recommended for clinicals, but not mandated, but eventually will be mandatory. Victoria says, we've been getting outbreaks among staff. There are still people who believe that this isn't real and not masking up. It's contagious and deadly disease like measles. You are literally walking in danger if you're partaking in risky behavior. True. Okay, so just real quickly. So there was a study done in the Journal of Education, Behavior, and Organization that said that it was published in 2015. It was done around college students, that college students opted to get the flu shot if it came with a $30 vaccine. They were more likely to get their flu vaccine if they were incentivized with a little bit of money, a little cash. Okay, so there's some research that supports that. Also that, and this study was across 6 college campuses, and yes, the payment for increasing flu shots worked. So looks like money makes the world go round. But then you think about, what about people who are not as informed, but are financially desperate and just doing things, not because they're fully informed or concerned about their safety, but they're just doing it for the cash. Maybe you might have someone who does have an allergic reaction, but they desperately need that cash and they try to go get the vaccine. So those are some of the things that we worry about. And some other things is, some people might be concerned that incentivizing the vaccine might feed mistrust. Why do you have to pay me to get the vaccine? What's happening? What's going on here? Like, too good to be true. That might be the case. Now, the penalizing or threatening layoffs. Well, if you are in a state where your employment is at will, your employer does have the right to mandate vaccines at their place of employment. Now, you as the employee have the right to say, I'll take it, I won't take it. They can't force you to take it, but they can make it a requirement to work there that you have this. Now, people have asked, is that a violation of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission? And the federal government recently weighed in on that issue that will confront millions of workers and employers in the coming months. Can workers be forced to get vaccinated as a condition of their jobs? That's $1 million answer. And the answer is yes, they can. They can. You have a choice. If it's employment at will, you have a choice whether to work there or not. You don't like those conditions, you don't like those standards, you don't have to work there. That's basically what it comes down to. If the employer has mandated vaccines as a requirement of employment at their facility, and you have decided that you do not want to get that vaccine, then you can excuse yourself, right? That's what it is. Now, if you are someone with a well-documented medical and religious reason, then your employer is required to provide alternatives for you. So, for example, let's say I have an allergy to one of the components in the vaccine. I can't get the vaccine. Employer can't fire me, but as long as it's not unsafe, I can be then required to work remotely, work in a different environment, or be required to wear a mask or some other type of PPE as a condition of my employment. So the question was coming up. People wanted to know, they can't do that. That's illegal. It's not. It's not. Okay. So that's something that we as nurses and nursing students need to know, right, about our places of employment. And now I haven't kept up with y'all comments. I know y'all are feeling some type of way about this. Some of you guys are. So now I know a lot of people are pushing back, like, you can't mandate that, you can't make that. A private employer can, as a requirement of their condition. It's not a violation because, and hold on, there's a rule in here. There's a reason why it says, let's see, employers, there's some language. So I'm not an attorney, but I read this article. It's a long article, so pardon, I can't get back to all the quotes, but this is why we need to inform ourselves. We start this conversation so then you guys can go down your respective holes and looking up more information, because we need to be informed. There's language in there that says it's not a violation of the Equal Employment Opportunity. It's not a violation of the American Disabilities Act, but there's some caveats. There's some carve-outs. So like I mentioned, medical and religious are carve-outs. Things that that require your employer to have access to health information about yourself. There are certain things that are carve-outs. So I want you to, on your own, this is the start of the conversation, on your own, go and look those things up. But for the general overarching things, schools and employers can require that as a requirement to work there or to go to school there, those type of things. And let's get to the vaccines with nursing schools and, kids. I say kids because I have children. Kids going back to the schools, or nursing students going to campus, or college students going back to campus, clinicals and outdoor activities. So just like it's required for you to demonstrate you have to show your vaccine records, they can very well eventually require the COVID vaccine. Now let's be honest. Not everybody has access to it right now. So people are going to be very hesitant of enforcing that requirement right now. Let's be clear. Although they can do it, they're probably not going to do it, not immediately, because we're still working out some things. We don't even have vaccines for kids under the age of 16. So you can't require it per se in the schools, right? And let me just talk about children here in the Los Angeles, LA Unified School District. Once vaccines become available, they are going to require students to get the COVID-19 vaccine. And if your child chooses not to have it, your child can continue to social distance learn. That's what the option is. But they're not going to be able to enforce that for a while because of lack of resources. We don't have enough vaccines. We don't even have a vaccine for kids. But you can see where this is going down the pipeline. So nurses, if y'all don't like this, y'all don't like what I'm saying, you don't like this conversation, you don't like where this is going, this looks ugly, this looks hairy, we need to be at the table helping to guide and lead these conversations at our respective departments of health, at our mayor's office, our governor's office. So really important that we become involved, right? We can identify problems all day, but once you've identified a problem, if you don't do anything about it, you're just part of the problem. So let's be a part of the solution. But that was just meant to kind of get this conversation going about that. Let's see. Let me look at some of these comments. These comments are getting good. Okay, so let's see. Sheila, you have to have a valid reason against it. That's why I said we abide by the rules. Absolutely, Sheila. Thank you so much. Kevin, no, you cannot mandate a vaccine. However, you can make it extremely hard for people to attend school or work without having a vaccination, such as college or military. So military, absolutely. College, you can make it a requirement. Here in many school districts, if your child does not have the specified required vaccines, they can't go to public school. So in a way, it's a mandate. If you want to go to public school, you have to do X, Y, and Z. So Kevin, that's what I meant. So I don't know if I said that a little differently. But yeah, so where are you going to go if you don't get so they're going to make it challenging for you. And even this is probably going to eventually spill over into travel and other things. I mean, they're already getting to travel. International travel is going to be requiring testing and all kinds of things. So guys, be prepared. Okay, so the best way to find out about these things is to stay current by looking at your public health department and the CDC website. And I'm sure there are some other websites, but those are the main two that I stick with for the general information. Let's see, like a severe allergic reaction. Okay, Melissa says, shouldn't vaccines be voluntary rather than make it mandatory? Melissa, I believe, thank you for that comment. I appreciate you. I believe everyone is the boss of their own body. It's not I can provide you information. I can provide you resources. I can make a way. I can have the medication right there sitting, waiting, ready for you. But if after you have been fully informed, have weighed your risks, the pros, the cons, the risks, and all those things, and you still decide that you don't want the vaccine, you are entitled to that. I'm just going to ask that if you've decided to not get the vaccine, that you please abide by all of the other preventative measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19. I think that is the best that we can do in today's society. We're not going to lock anyone up for not getting the vaccine. We shouldn't. At least here in the United States, we're not doing that. If you guys hear of anything else, let me know. But unfortunately, for the greater good, of our public in society. And we know that vaccines have been very helpful at preventing preventable illnesses. That, and they've found to be a benefit and helpful. Are there some side effects? Are there some other things that can happen? Yes, there are, like reactions, right? But for the most part, the risks of an adverse reaction from a vaccine are far less than actually getting the actual disease itself. Okay? I know this is causing a lot of anxiety for people. I know. Been a nurse for 22 years and I never thought I'd see this in my career. Honey, me too. It's crazy. Okay. Hey, IG, thank you for sticking in with us and listening to the conversation. Again, if you haven't already, click on over to Facebook. We'd love to have you over there. Okay, guys. So let's see what else. We're coming up on time. Let's see. Let's go to our next topic. Vaccine investigation. Okay, so there was a vaccine investigation launched after several allergic reactions to a batch of Moderna vaccines in San Diego. So the California Health Department put a pause on the administration of a particular batch of Moderna vaccine after 10 people at a clinic in San Diego developed severe allergic reactions that required medical attention. And these reactions occurred within the span of 24 hours. Now, it didn't say exactly when each individual developed their allergic reaction, but here's what we know about allergic reactions. Now, I know y'all are nurses and nursing students, so y'all know this, but for the people in the back who weren't listening, what we do know about allergic reactions to the COVID vaccine is that we anticipate 1.1 allergic reactions out of every 100,000. Get that stat down because somebody's going to ask you. 1.1 out of every 100,000 is what we anticipate that someone will have an allergic reaction to the COVID-19 vaccine. Over 70% of allergic reactions occur within the first 15 minutes. So when people go to get their COVID vaccine, they say, wait for 15 minutes. For those who've had any type of allergic reactions to other injectables or other foods or medications or concerns for allergic reactions who are higher risk, wait full 30 minutes, because we know that a majority of those allergic reactions, anaphylactic especially, will occur within that time frame, which is why supervision is needed. So those who are at the vaccine site can intervene. They can, take a blood pressure, because what happens when you have allergic reaction? Blood pressure drops, heart rate speeds up, narrowing of airways, swelling of your lips, tongue, throat, those type of things, hives, itchiness, maybe confusion, shortness of breath, all of those things. And so, and not all of that, listen, this is some tea for you. It'll be very important. If someone asks you, I'm concerned, I had a reaction to this and that. I want to go get the COVID vaccine. They should talk to their healthcare professionals. If it's deemed that they're going to still go get the vaccine, they want to wait at least the full 30 minutes, and they want to attend a vaccine location that has a full anaphylactic reaction treatment kit. Not all sites will have that. While all sites will have some basic, like blood pressure, stethoscope, I'm going to do with that. Take your vital signs. Take your vital signs and call 911. If I'm someone of a high risk category, I want to go to the site that has the epi on location, that has the crash cart on location. So it's going to be important as informed consumers that when you're looking, telling the public, when you're looking for a COVID vaccination site, that you make sure that you've done your research and you pick a site that has all of these things in place. That's the site I would want to go to. So not every site has that, but that's not public information. People don't know. And I worry about that because we have a lot of non-licensed healthcare professionals giving vaccines. You can train anyone to give a vaccine in the deltoid. Anybody can do that. Just show them where to poke. This is how you aspirate it. This is how you give the vaccine, and this is how you dispose of the needle. A majority of the frontline healthcare workers who are taking care of people who know how to respond to these anaphylactic reactions are at the bedside, or they're the EMS that are going to be responding when you call 911. They're not sitting there waiting on location at these COVID-19 sites. as a word of precaution. So if you're someone who has a high risk or your patient has a high risk of anaphylactic reaction, please direct them to a site that has these things. And how do I know these sites if this site has this information? You go to the site's website. There should be a section that says how they are handling these things, okay? So nurses students, advanced practice nurse, retired nurses, teachers, colleagues. It's important that we as nurses know this information, that we share this with our patients. So back to Moderna. This particular batch of Moderna vaccine, they sent this particular batch of vaccine to over 1,700 vaccination sites in 37 different states. However, this was the only location that had issues. So it raises the question, is it really an issue with the vaccine itself, or could it have been an external factor such as perhaps it wasn't stored properly? Perhaps it's thawing, there was a flaw in its thawing process. Perhaps it was contaminated when it was being drawn up. Perhaps it was left out too long. Perhaps there was an issue with how it was delivered to the particular individual. So we don't know. Moderna's looking into that right now. California definitely put a halt on giving any more of that particular lot. But again, that lot had already been administered to other people throughout the state as well as throughout the nation in those other 36 states. So it raises the question as if this were an isolated event. So unfortunately, things like this happen. And when they do, we need to move in swiftly, assess what's happened, and really, figure out what's happened so we know what to say to people. Because now millions of Americans are like, what happened? What happened? Should I not get Moderna? Should I get the Pfizer vaccine? And these are the things that we need to consider, those external factors, and not just attribute those anaphylactic reactions to Moderna itself. That would be unfair. Okay. And as nurses, nursing is it's an art, but it's a science. And we understand the science and all of the potential places where the ball could have been dropped or where the problems could have happened. So that's it's like a process improvement issue. We have to look through the whole process, from the delivery of the vaccine, every little step that it went through before it got injected into that individual's arm. So that's what happened with the Moderna vaccine. Gosh, this is such good stuff. Are y'all enjoying this? I hope y'all are enjoying this. I love talking about this kind of stuff. Let's see. Sheila, viruses and bacteria come and go. Absolutely. Thank you for this. Thank you, Yvette. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I hope you guys share this information with your colleagues. And for those of y'all on IG, I hope y'all decide to join us on Facebook one day. But this will be on Facebook, nurse.org's Facebook, as well as on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. So if you guys want to watch this video. Brenda said thanks. Okay, now we are going to wrap up this conversation because I was trying to make this a little bit shorter, but I think we go the full hour because we have so much to talk about. The last question, the last topic that we had for the night of the show was, should COVID vaccines be required to return students to campus and attend clinical activities off campus? So I think we touched on that a little bit earlier. It is not, it's currently highly suggested. But y'all, we see the writings on the wall. We see the writings on the wall. Okay, so let's not be oblivious to it. We have a worsening pandemic. It's not gotten better. It's gotten worse. So desperate times call for desperate measures. And I imagine that at some point, if we don't tip the scale and head in the other direction, this is something that will be definitely required and enforced by employers and in schools and things like that. It's definitely going to make it, for those who've decided to opt out of vaccines, going to make it challenging for them to continue to do some activities or do those activities they would normally do. So let's see. Any questions? This has been listen, I love coming to talk to y'all every Tuesday. This is some good stuff. And so if you weren't able to watch it in full, make sure you revisit it, start a watch party, share this with your friends. And I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in and watching Nurse News Now. I'm Nurse Alice, and I love chatting with y'all. I really, really do. I want to also thank nurse.org and encourage and invite you all to visit nurse.org's page. Tons of helpful information, articles on a variety of topics. And if you want to go and binge watch some Nurse News Now and look at the topics, you can go definitely to nurse.org. We have a page for Nurse News Now. You can go back and watch all of the interviews. You get to see all of these Tuesday lives that we do as well. We're doing special interviews throughout. I've had the opportunity to interview Dr. Fauci. He has some really kind things to say about nurses, so make sure you check that out. I had the chance to interview Tabay Masay, who is a nurse who vaccinated our President-elect Joe Biden. I also had talked about pandemic travel assignments with the nurse Julia and Everett, who is the paramers on Instagram. Also, we talked about nursing orientation during a pandemic with the New Nurse Academy. She's a clinical nurse educator, Tiffany Gibson. You can find her on IG. I've had Dr. James and asked the NP to come on and talk about his journey of getting the COVID vaccine. He was one of the first to do it. Lots of other great interviews. And just recently, we just released yesterday, we had the opportunity to interview the president of the American Nurses Association, Dr. Ernest Grant. And I asked him some pointed questions about when this national pandemic broke out. Did they call y'all? Did they call us nurses? Did they call y'all, Dr. Grant? Because I need to know, were nurses on the top of people's minds when this pandemic broke out? And his answer was yes. His answer was yes. And he had some other important things to share about the nurses' role in this world pandemic, how we as nurses can make a difference and opportunities for us to make the difference. So please want to encourage you to watch that. We'll be sharing snippets of all of these great interviews on Instagram and Facebook. And if you, the viewers, if there's a certain topic you guys want to hear about, you're like, you know what, I'd like a particular guest to go on there, or maybe you want to be the guest on Nurse News Now. We'd love to hear what your topic is. Pitch us a topic. Love to have you on. This is a show for nurses by nurses, and it's all about you guys. And I enjoy doing this because I remember when I became a new nurse, really didn't have a forum like this outside of the break room to kind of talk about other things that impact nursing, not just what's happening in my hospital, my unit. That's cool. I need to know that for work, but abroad, because nurses, we're leaders. And as a leader, you need to be informed, not of what's just happening in your neck of woods, but what's happening in other places. We call that benchmarking practice. We need to benchmark practice in other cities, states, look at things from a different angle, because that's how we're going to problem solve and make this world a better place. And I believe nurses are the leaders to do it. So let's see. If there's not any other questions, let's look at these last few comments. Sheila, nice chatting with you too. Yes, boo, let's do it again next Tuesday. Kevin, I love all this information you put out. Believe me, I'll be here a lot more. Everyone follow the Boot Nurse on YouTube. Shameless plug. That's cool. I get it, Kevin. Thank you for joining the conversation. Maybe pitch a topic. We can have you on as a guest so you can have a more, we can see you on camera chatting about these things. Thank you so much. Melissa had a question. What's the difference with this vaccine as opposed to the other ones back then? So Melissa, this vaccine, the COVID vaccine, uses mRNA technology, unlike the other vaccines like the flu. The flu vaccine, we're giving you a weakened or attenuated virus. So we're giving you a little bit of the virus. With the COVID vaccine, we're not actually giving you the virus, but we're giving you a protein with genetic instruction on how to make the virus. And once in your body learns how to make the virus, but then also develops antibodies to prevent that virus from kind of taking over. So those are, in the most simplest ways, that's the difference between the two. But it's definitely different from the flu vaccine. And again, this is the first time we are giving an mRNA vaccine commercially on a large scale like this. This is the largest mass vaccine thing this world has ever seen. So we are part of history. Okay, so let's make your mark. And let's see. Sheila, because all of my accent I can't teach. Sheila, all nurses are teachers. You can teach somebody. Listen, I know you can. I believe nurses are all teachers. Okay, guys, so that's it. I'm Nurse Alice. Thank you so much for tuning in to Nurse News Now here with nurse.org. Make sure to visit nurse.org. There you go. Website's at the bottom. You can follow nurse.org on IG and Facebook as well. I'm your host, Nurse Alice. I love coming to chat with y'all every week. This is my website. Please visit asknursealice.com. And you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. Follow me. I'll follow you back. And until next week, guys, we're going to do this every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is Nurse News Now, and I'm Nurse Alice. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you all next week. Till then, be safe, be kind to one another, and make healthy choices. Bye now.